That's the 911.
911, somebody just broke into our house. We're all alone. Please help us.
That's somebody.
Oh yeah, spring break is over. Done. In the books, in the memory, gone. Yep, it's over. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. CJTV with your host, me, Dr. G. Good times. Had a good spring break. We're live. YouTube, X, and Rumble. We're not twitching it or kicking it on Kick. We're just focusing on the three. Yeah, having a good time. Anyway, let's get down to some past spring break. Well, spring break's over info. Downloads, 1,566 in 92 days from all of the researchers here on the show. Man, that's pretty cool. Names getting circulated, publications, all good stuff. PPTs, a little bit of education. So if you want to download some of the stuff, go to the show, go to the Facebook link. All the stuff is there. You can get to the actual episodes, download stuff. So even the white paper, great literature for today, with a little bit of statistical review and tabletop exploration for you to look at. It is all there. Feel free, download it, use it scholarly, cite it. Make sure you cite all of the true researchers. 29,000 views. Man, That isn't bad. That isn't bad. Anyway, welcome to tonight's show. Authenticity of law enforcement. Yes, the clarification. Are you authentic or are you just a Academy Roger Robot machine? Yeah. Roger Robot machine. Yep, they exist. The short crew cuts and the traffic killers. Yeah, I've seen that. I was never a fan of Graduate the Academy and Super Sling tickets. But everybody sees it every now and then. It happens, man. It happens. It's not a bad thing. But sometimes you need a little bit of a reality, so to say. Critical conversation. The hidden psychological cost of law enforcement. Yep, hidden psychological cost of law enforcement that you don't see making the headlines of the news. Nobody wants to cover it. Police chiefs don't want to cover it. Peers, whatever you want to call it, in the departments don't want to argue it with the police chiefs because pretty much, the peers of the PERS system is going to lose with the police chief or the sheriff. It's just the way it is. And so we're going to focus on authenticity fatigue. Yeah. The exhaustion from performing emotional labor. Yeah. High risk, high demand. It is. It's a high risk authenticity self-expression. You're giving of yourself for society. A lot of people argue, hey, man, why do you want to be the cops? Why do you want to be the police? It sounds dangerous. Well, it sounds because it is dangerous. That's why it sounds dangerous. It's kind of like going swimming with the sharks covered in blood, right? You're not going to chum your legs and go kick around in the water. Well, law enforcement does that all the time. This is not about politics or policy, this show. It's not. We're not debating that. We're talking about simple authenticity. Setting the background, setting the rules, setting the dialogue, law enforcement, acknowledging the activity, former law enforcement, those that are active law enforcement, those that are families embedded with historical venue of my grandpa, my grandmother, this, that, and the other was law enforcement. Well, there was a lot sacrificed, a whole lot. Being real, the means in police culture. Yeah, what being real means in law enforcement culture. Now, a lot of people would think that when you hear the word law enforcement, you think city cops, black and blue uniforms, badges, goofy, stupid. God, I hate those hats. Who hates those hats? I hate those hats. Hate the law enforcement hats. Now, the ones up north, like, the main guys with kind of slant, the real evil looking, sinister, kind of like drill instructor hats, I can dig those. But I was always a campaign hat kind of guy. Yeah. Still got, my first 2 campaign hats from law enforcement. And as a drill instructor, yes, got all of them. The paradox, the heart of police work. Officers receive stimulus, from society. Sometimes it's a contradictory directive from society that's, given in a good way, constructive criticism. And sometimes it's just downright happy and thankful. And sometimes the third, it's the anger. It's the mad. It's the fist principle. You got a problem. You call the police because you can't solve the problem. Police show up to solve your problem. You don't like the way it's being solved. Now you're angry. That would be number 3. But what that demonstrates with law enforcement, the ability to take all of that, all 3 levels, and still maintain a level of psychological cognitiveness, ability to still want to perform and do the job in society. Yeah, it's an unyielding toughness. It demonstrates humanity. Yes, it demonstrates humanity. Even though police are out there policing humanity, the traumatized policing the trauma. Because the traumatized are seeing the trauma every day. The dual identity trap. Yes, the dual identity trap for your buddies, the law enforcement officer. It manifests when public expectations of empathy and compassion collide with the institutional demand. Yeah, institutional demand, the executive body, the legislative writers to enforce the law. Yeah, officer discretion. How many times you've heard it's the officer's choice or officer discretion? Well, it depends on policy and procedure and the word of law, be it federal and or state, city, county, whatever, something annotated, unannotated. Even something as far as like a city or county ordinance. Don't play that music too loud. Don't bump those tunes and that dub. Yeah. Do we enforce it or not? It's the expectation, the empathy of it, the recognition of humanity. Sometimes there's that collision, kind of like an asteroid with another asteroid. Yep. 2 wrongs make a wrong in law enforcement. It's just the way it is. Institutional demands and emotional control. Yes. Society is a walking bucket of emotion. I think, I feel, I believe, you hurt my feelings. We don't want you here. Well, we're here for a reason. Law enforcement's there for a reason, because society sometimes is emotionally out of control, psychologically clicked over on the bent side. Who do you think's coming? The ones that live in your community that see it every day and have to police the psychologically clicked over on the bent side. The traumatized policing the trauma. Authenticity itself transforms into performance. Period. Done over. It's performance. Performance. Are you performing as a machine? That academy instruct? Yeah, that goes away, people. The academy is the bottom sandpit of law enforcement training and ability. It's like the lowest turd underneath the fly turd. Things change. Society changes. Education, officer selection theory, officer rational choice theory. But the public expectations, empathy, the collision, the authenticity. Officers must appear genuine while on scene, systematically suppressing genuine reactions, emotions, thought. Think of the officer rolling up on a scene to where a child has been gruesomely murdered and sexually assaulted. Well, you don't think the officer is going to be emotionally distraught, a little bit mad, a little bit angry, and the suspect is there? Everybody's heard those phrases. Well, we should take those people and just hang them from this, or tie them to this, or do that, do the other. Well, the law enforcement officer is a member of your society, so the authenticity, it's there, but the suppression of genuine reaction, it creates a, so to say, recitative or recursive loop. And inauthenticity, meaning not authentic. Yeah, the officer has to deal with it. That doesn't mean the officer is not authentic, but the officer is not going to deal with it in front of you. Yeah, in front of you. The society of troublemakers. Yeah, why? Not going to happen there. It's not going to happen. Thus you hear the questions, why are they laughing with each other? It's a bad scene. Someone died. The cops are laughing. It's coping. It's authentic. Kind of like the majority of you. You can't wait to call the person up that you lost the argument to so you could bring it back up because you remembered something the next day that would have enabled you to win the argument, be the victor, be the shiny star on the podium of argument. Chats are open. Authenticity. Unfortunately, authentic people in society are the result of what? Society. Law enforcement. Authenticity is the result of society. Why? Law enforcement comes from society. Contradiction. It embeds itself the first day. Yeah, the academy. Got to be the machine. Yeah. Got to testify through toughness, the officer's career, until it becomes invisible. You, the emotion, the person, the man, the woman, the citizen behind the badge, the normalization of the burden you must bear to be the police, traumatized police, policing the trauma of society. The authenticity. Yeah. Are you fake or are you real? It's kind of like fit or fat cop. Yep. We had an episode on that. If you saw that episode, put it in the chat. What do you think about the fit or fat cop? Yep. That's, I kind of covered my opinion on it. Yep. If you're going to do the job, do the job. Authenticity. The research landscape. Let's cover this real quick because this is academic, as we've got right here in the, top, where you can go get the information, download it, read it for yourself, even do some more research. Please, if you do some more research on it, send it to us. Send it, drmikeleeg@gmail.com. Send it. Shoot it over to the other researchers. We'll review it and we'll hit you up. Good or bad, but make sure it's scholarly, not made up garbage. Make sure it's peer review too, please. Mother of peer review God, make sure it's peer review. All right, peer review studies establish direct correlations between surface acting and policing and measurable emotion exhaustion, with burnout rates significantly elevated among officers who report high levels of emotional suppression. You got to hide that stuff. Yes, you don't want society seeing the cop break down, lose it. But we can be emotional when the kids are in the pasture playing with a soccer ball. Look at that. The cops having joy time. The cops are being real, playing baseball with the kiddos. But when tragedy strikes, everyone wants RoboCop, Superman, Supergirl. We should do a show on that, Super Cop. Yeah, we're going to do one. Matter of fact, we'll do one. So the research indications, the findings, officers compelled to fake or hide emotions during high stakes encounters. Yeah, that's true. It's not uncommon. I mean, let's be real, society. Do you want a babbling, teary-eyed, dolphin tuna hating or preventing crybaby? Or do you want someone that's there to respond to the problem you caused or got yourself in? You can't fix it. You call 911. Law enforcement shows up, fixes the problem. But typically society doesn't like it, so they get angry because somebody's going to get some new chrome jewelry or go to jail. Chained or hinged, whatever it is, your style, our delivery. It's all upon you, the hidden aspect of it. No one wants the emotional crybaby because it's a problem society has created and can't get out of. Is what it is. The emerging research too, all the way. I mean, I released today the white paper research on this afternoon. Did it for like 2 or 3 days. It's pretty cool. But the emerging data links sustained emotional labor to use of force incidents. Oh my gosh, Becky, think of this. Emotional suppression and excessive use of force. It's kind of like, bundling it in, hiding, chewing it like gum all day long, but you can't spit it out of your mouth, so it goes bad. Emotion, psychological burden, the disparity. No one thinks about that. No one actually wants to argue that because everybody wants to point a finger at law enforcement, the CJ system, the feds, the sheriff's office, the city police, whatever it is. Everybody wants to point that finger, but nobody pointing the finger wants to get out there and do the dadgum job because of the sacrifice that it entails. Especially this generation. I'm being 100% honest with you here. This generation, it's not secure. 12-hour, long shifts, separation, loss of holidays, loss of the recognition of me, you. Yeah, it's not going to happen that way because you're out there in the paradox of the degradation of society falling apart that needs you to respond and perform rather than enhance your emotions publicly. Yeah, society needs you to perform. The professional attachment versus the professional detachment of self. Professional detachment of self means you don't want to do the job, but you want to be the finger pointer. The research and the critical gaps, it's all there. Download it. Let me see. Yep, there it is right there. Still on the screen. Go to Facebook. It's linked there. You can download it. So let's close this out. And there you go. Let's get our neon going. Why this conversation about law enforcement authenticity matters. Why does it matter? Who cares? In society, who would care? Rising officer suicide rates over the past 6 years. Yeah. Suicide rates. There are more law enforcement officers that die in the United States than there are military members overseas in the past 6 years. I know, hard to swallow. War, bombs, escalation, power, boots on the ground, air, superiority. Yeah, there are more law enforcement officers that die every day in the United States than military die overseas. You don't believe me? Go to the officers' memorial. Read it for yourself. Do your own research on it. The tough cop theory. What society expects. Authenticity. Yep. Waves of retirement. Yep. Get to that point, man. It's time to go. Time to retire. Yeah. Underappreciated recruitment crisis. It's there. You see all these ads out there. So-and-so's hiring. Sign-on bonus. Cities are. Why do you think you see all of these cities on Facebook, LinkedIn, all of these social media aspects of we're hiring. It's because nobody's qualified to do the dadgum job. The majority of people are either fit, fat, right? The fit, fat cop show. They're not capable of doing the job physically, mentally askewed, can't do it, have a criminal background, no education level. There's something there that's going to prevent them from doing the job. Qualified candidates. It's like the military. One would think it's easy to get into the military. No, it's not. The same problem with the military. Unqualified candidates to get into the military. Sure, recruitment percentages are being met, but that's what you're being told. That's what's being released. But what is the real need? Yep, the Tough Cop Wellness Program consistently fails because the problem of ignore the structural nature of the emotional labor, the toll, the physical labor, the demand, the job, the stress. You miss it. Yep. You miss the soccer game with the kiddos. So you got to get out there in the community and play soccer with some kiddos that aren't your kiddos, not your family. Treating the symptoms while reinforcing the disease of trauma. It's law enforcement. Nobody wants to talk about it, especially society, especially those that complain about law enforcement. Well, law enforcement's out there treating the disease of society's failure, enabling law enforcement's own traumatic disease, the growth. And you're complaining about it? Well, sack up, fill out an app, see if you qualify. And if you do, see if you make it. See if you can go through that academy. See if you can go through that FTO. See if you can go through the stress and the separation. Understanding the authenticity fatigue. Remember, chats are open. Leave your comments. Yep. This authenticity fatigue phenomenon in society proves essentially the meaning for police reform and officer retention. Yeah, meaning retaining officers. Something needs to change, the framework. Something that transcends the political partisan divide. The government, yeah. Screw the Democrats, screw the Republicans, screw the left side, screw the right side. That has no bearing in it. That's all executive. That's all legislative. But it's not focused on the one singular, kind of like the Bill of Rights within the Constitution, the singular representation, the singular coverage of the Bill of Rights versus the full coverage of the Constitution, prevention of overreach, the Supreme Court, overreach, over-empowerment, overindulgence of the president. But no one focuses on that one singular law enforcement officer when it comes to reform. No one focuses on the real problems. No one focuses on what the officers have to deal with, what they lose. Think about what you lose in your own life if you're not in law enforcement. The job. Well, I work at Wendy's. I had to work Christmas. No, really? It's too bad. Well, how many dead bodies did you see in Wendy's on Christmas? You saw some future dead bodies because people are eating at Wendy's. That garbage, but it just is what it is. That's an example. Yeah, understanding the framework, the transcendence, something that transcends a need for change, revision, and able to prevent the division. Humane policing, so to say, not for society. No, it's not for society. Humane policing for police, not society. Police is law enforcement. They're out there because society's broken. It's on a tilt pickle wheel or the broken front wheel. It's messed up. It's screwed up. But yet, police the trauma and feed your own trauma. Law enforcement continue it every day. And yeah, it's a topic. Those that are in law enforcement are going to say, yep, finally, this guy's out here saying it. Screw society's thought of, we hate the police are bad. Yeah, okay, well, you're causing just as much trauma to law enforcement as you argue law enforcement is causing upon you, society. It is what it is. Authenticity, authentic, real human beings doing the job that very few want to do. No one wants to do it. The emotional labor, the duration of the time. How long are you on shift? 8 hours, 12 hours? How long are you working? What all are you seeing? How many calls are backed up by the time it is time for you to get out of that freaking patrol briefing or that briefing before the shift because somebody likes to hear themselves talk? Sarge, lieutenant, captain likes to hear their voice because they think it's beautiful, but it's just making the day miserable because the one talking is not going to be doing a dadgum thing but telling you how to do your job or screwing it up themselves, making it worse. Yeah, they only call me when it's bad. And I heard a sergeant at Memphis PD say that, well, it's got to be bad if I'm being called. You're just a sergeant, man. That's a reality in East Memphis. Yep. Tillman Precinct. That's where he was from. And he was part of the Fat Not Fit Cop Club. Yes. Obese, not just a little overweight. I'm talking like Jabba the Badge. Fat. Nasty. Yeah. So let's get into the emotional labor of it. All right. Surfaces. Law enforcement services, who you are. When I say services, it's the first view, the perception, all right? The act, the delay, reality, the delay of it. Most law enforcement officers, they understand the reality of what they're seeing, but they're suppressing the genuine display of emotion, the organizational requirement. Yeah, wearing the mask, hiding it. That mask never comes off. Sometimes it's hard to take off after the shift. It's hard to take off after the 4 or 5 days on and 2 to 3 days off. And that 2 to 3 days off, you can't get the mask off. Why? Because everyone knows you're a cop. Everyone knows you're the Leo. Everyone knows you're the agent of the federal whatever. Yeah, you can't take it off. Society expects the deep acting representation to continue over and over, so you can't be the real you. You can't display authenticity, the authentic you, the insidious form of law enforcement self-manipulation. Turn the switch off. Is what it is. Turn it off. It's hard to do, though, right? Society expects that continued hardcore. It's kind of like Goggins going into the pararescue program. Hope he makes it. Hope he smokes all of them. Stay hard, Gog. Yep, the deep acting, the insidious form of self-manipulation, self-destructive. Law enforcement officers actually modify their internal feelings. That's the truth. It's there, but it's modified. It's kind of like a gauge. It's not a light switch on and off. It's like a temperature gauge, 0 to 100. When and where. When it can be displayed, where it can be displayed, where it can be talked about, where it can be discussed. Talk about and discuss are two different things. Talk about your feelings. Discuss the scenario, discuss the problem and the effect on the agency. Why the need for counseling? Why the need for suspended with pay because of a traumatic incident to evaluate the officer? Yeah, the internal feelings to match the job's demand, fundamentally altering the law enforcement officer's emotional architecture, the build, the emotion, because you're building on top of a foundation already theoretically constructed in your lifetime, your emotions. Choice theory, developmental theory. How are you having to suppress all of that and put a shield around it and make new methods of emotional response, new methods of reaction, things that you've been taught, the demand, the agency, the partisanship, the government. Yep. You're supposed to be professional, respond, no emotion, stand there, be yelled at 2 feet away from some idiot with purple hair and a Walmart gas mask and a spoon and a half plastic barrel shield, wearing a black ninja outfit. Yeah, stand there for hours being yelled at, degraded, talked to like garbage. But God forbid law enforcement says one word, back up, purple-haired jackass. Oh, it's bad. It's suppression. It's, you hurt my feelings, law enforcement. Well, society created the whole aspect of it. You created the need for it. Society has created its own sin eater, its own whipping goat, its own whipping post law enforcement. Society, you created it yourself. And yet you need a finger to point at. That's what research shows. You don't believe me? Go download the information. Here, I'll put it right back up for you. For those of you getting angry, go download it. See it for yourself. Especially you scholars. Kind of hard to argue it, and when multiple people have peer reviewed it and law enforcement and other researchers agree with it, I'm not putting it out with I think, feel, or believe. It's got to have some freaking mathematical statistical venue to it. Policing uniquely requires both types, all right, simultaneously, depending on the call. That cognitive dissonance officer needs to be able to switch and become that suppression and internalization officer, as well as be the emotional outreach. I love you, butterflies and unicorns. Like a light switch. Got to be there. Society has a difficult time doing it, so why does society expect law enforcement to be authenticity, responsibility? Why? Why should they? Society's creating its own downfall, but the authenticity of a law enforcement officer, are they human? Do they have feelings? Do they have emotion? Shame, protest. Who's heard that crap at protest? Shame for what? Having to police you and your stupidity? Give me a break. Protesting something that is actually against the law. Yeah, protesting something actually against the law and was enforced by Republican and Democrat, left wing and right wing over years, presidencies, decades, argued, but come up with dumb shame. Well, okay. Shame. Thanks for letting law enforcement know that you're ashamed of yourself because you recognize that you want to call law enforcement words and argue and say stupid terminology such as shame. Law enforcement wouldn't be there if there wasn't a need for them to be there, and it's because you're what? Violating the law itself in your own jurisdictions for the people that you vote for. Can you expect law enforcement to have that emotional suppression for you? You didn't get a protest piece of paper, did you? You didn't go get that permit. But you're going to be out there. Shame. Well, shame on you. You voted for the pinheads that are managing your city under a partisan rule. Legislative, right? Executive body. You expect law enforcement to just be a wall and be a robot? No, it doesn't happen, people. That's not reality. It is not. The cognitive dissonance, everybody wants that hardcore guy, that hardcore girl, the one that can dissident themselves from emotion, thought, cognitive reason. This is the problem. This is the call. The word of law, by the book, Dano. Cross-professional research studies. Yeah, we're not even going to get into that. It's horrible. It's horrible. And not horrible as in bad research. It's horrible because sociologically, psychological, law enforcement research all comes down to the same perspective. There's a problem, and society is the creator of the lack of law enforcement authenticity. Law enforcement comes from society. You want emotional cops? You want cops that are human beings? Stop being stupid. Stop violating the law. Stop arguing the creation for new law. Enforce the laws you have. How about obeying the laws you are governed under that you elect an electoral body for? How about trying that once? Yep, the nicer than nice, the tougher than tough dilemma. Oh, the nicer than nice. Officers, law enforcement, Leos. When I say officers, I mean just law enforcement in general. Whatever agency, the law enforcement officer, he, she, they, whatever, work for. However they identify. Doesn't matter. They have to pivot. They have to shift instantly between compassion for victims and then turn on controlled aggression for the suspects. Think about this. Go to a scene where you have to have compassion. Someone lost a loved one, a child. You got to show empathy, remorse. Suppress your own emotion. Sometimes it's upsetting. It's violent. It's an accident, but it's bad, or natural death. It's horrible, unexpected. You've got to be the one that's the comfort. You got to be the one that people can trust, people that can reach out to you, ask for help, treatment, future steps, heal in the future. Stop, visit, have a conversation. Then the next call, it's little stomach ache with a knife, stabbing people, running through the mall. Now you've got to turn on, bam, the aggression. People think it's easy. No, society just uses emotion uncontrolled. It is not controlled chaos with society. It is undisciplined emotion. It is uncontrolled reactive action. That's what it is. Law enforcement, it's continuous, trained, skilled, built, delivered, built. But the light switch is still there, on, off for the suppression. Aggression control, emotional control. Nobody argues that. You don't hear that in the news media. All you hear is crappy opinions. The whiplash of attending a child's funeral. Man, that's a good example. And then going to a high-risk felony stop on the road where guns are blazing and projectiles are flying, busting windshields and causing, defects to vehicles. Yeah, I said defects. I didn't say bullet injuries, bullet strikes. That's called society layman, uneducated talk. That's a defect. Yep, the fragmentation of the professional identity, helping destroy the person. But society wants that. That is what society wants, law enforcement. That is what society expects from you. Self-destruction, self-mutilization. Yep, trust me, I know. I did it. Still teach it. Yeah, still teach it. Let me see. Let's go to something cool here. Let's go to this one right here. And, this wasn't a full, research with researchers because, I was developing this through kind of spring break. But it was something that was given to me, not really as a dare, but as a good topic from, believe it or not, a police chief. Yes, police chief. A very experienced police chief. Not a new one. Not one of those cool guy Bobs or the police chief that, the mayor hired because the mayor likes, the redheaded female chick. Now they promote the redheaded female chick to police chief because they like her. It's not because of education or ability to do job. They just like Tom likes Bob. Linda likes Lucy, and good old boy syndrome. Yep. Research documents how officers become self-depersonalized to survive. Yeah. Self-depersonalized. You even put off yourself. You neglect yourself. You don't do anything for yourself. It's all the job. Yeah, the pageantry to get ready. I may not come home. Don't even take care of yourself physically. Self-depersonalization. Just to survive the day, just to survive the job, distancing yourself from the emotional reality, the proactive adaptation of what are you really going to do when you have to cope with it. It's kind of hard to do. Things that law enforcement don't want to talk about either because of the tough guy syndrome, the badass syndrome, the super cop that everybody wants, the traumatized policing the trauma, the traumatic circle of silence. Yep, it extends emotional suppression into the home. Yes, law enforcement takes it home, takes it with them. You can't leave it in the trunk of the patrol car, man. You can't leave it in the bag, in the locker at the department. It's not going to happen that way. It goes home. You have to deal with it. The disconnect. Yeah. Protecting the family. You don't want to talk the family or the wife or the husband or the kids or grandma or Uncle Larry about what happened today and all the inhumane activity, society's inhumanity towards itself. You don't want to go home and talk about that. That's not your life. It's the career. It's the job. It's not you. You've got a movie to go to. You've got a dinner to go to. You've got an event to go to. Yeah. But officers still, Leos still see themselves as robots. Why? On, off, knowing that you have to turn that light switch off, knowing why you have to do the disconnect before you walk through the front door of the house. But you have to because society demands it, right? Society demands policing of itself because society acts as its own empty shell all on its own, and you have to police the empty shell. When I say society acts as the empty shell, law enforcement sometimes turns into a singular entity of a person that is an empty shell because of the job. Why do you think law enforcement exists? The empty shell of society. None of, the predominant number of society aren't recognizing the trauma or the crime until it affects them, till it affects you. Then when it affects you, you expect super cop, law enforcement, the professionals, save the day, the super squirrels and the super moose with the capes and the guns. Yep, that's what you expect. But unless it's affecting you, no one cares. No one. Now, there are some that do. There are, some in society that are pro-law enforcement, even those that are pro-law enforcement. But yet when law enforcement shows up, it's not something they're really worried about until it affects them and they have to dial 911 and expect law enforcement to be Johnny on the spot and show up. But it's always that delayed response, more stress on law enforcement because of the lack of qualified people to fulfill the positions, the jobs. There's some agencies I like, some agencies I don't, to be honest with you. I saw a picture of an ICE agent in Atlanta. It was a news clip, right? In Atlanta, the airport. Everybody remember, all the crap going on with TSA and, ICE going in to do TSA jobs because they've been funded, because of the Make America Confused bill or act or whatever the hell it is, So now they're already funded. So now they got ICE in there. And I'm just going to be blunt. It was fat. It was nasty. It was ugly. It was, and we're like, yes, we have ICE here. Well, who feels safe with that? Now here's a empty shell of a person not caring about themselves. Wonder why? Why that way get there and then stand behind the counter? Yes, standing behind the, where you check in your bags, your ticket. Way, not just right there like in the face, but way back against the wall. You don't want to be there. Empty shell. It's not Sparta. You're not out on the street catching Julio or Iglesias. No. Now you're doing something a simpleton would do, a TSA guy or a TSA girl who are not working because some crap of the Democrats or the Republicans can't get along with each other. And now somebody doesn't have a job. Now somebody's there empty shelling themselves in a position that is not for them. And society wants that line moving so that they can get on those little airplanes and fly all around the world to where there are all kinds of communities, countries, cities with crime and police. You're just trading one location for another. I don't know, some are confused. What is this guy talking about? Yeah, it was on CNN, believe it or not. I just kind of caught it on YouTube, floating around, scanning around. When the mask becomes the face, yeah, the years of turning the switch off and not being able to take the mask off leaves the officer uncertain of who they are beneath the actual professional performance. Yeah, they may be good at the job, but who are they really? a job, a robot, a machine. You're just the response tool, the response mechanism. Leaves damage over time. And yet it's hard to turn that off. Law enforcement officers that'll say, oh yeah, man, I can do it. They're lying to your face. They're lying. It's kind of like everyone else in society. You can't go to sleep at night because you can't turn the computer off in the head. You can't turn the thought process off. Your head keeps you awake. Same thing. But if it happens that way with a typical Leo law enforcement officer, think about everything they've seen in the day that is more traumatizing than you. The most scariest thing you saw was a squirrel run out in front of you and you had to avoid it. Well, that officer quite possibly has seen multiple dead bodies this week. Children, grandmothers, murder, mayhem, macabre, dismemberment. The worst thing you saw was a squirrel run out in front of you and you panicked. Oh my God, the day is horrible. I'm so stressed. I can't turn that off. I could have run off the road and died. Oh. Looks like the law enforcement officer has you trumped by a lot. Years of surface acting. Yep. Surface acting, turning it off, being something that they're not, wearing the mask. It erodes the capacity to express genuine emotion, feelings, concern, have a simple common conversation because it's aggressive, because the person approaches them aggressively. Yeah, it's the act, just the walk, the kinesic behavior, the physical behavior. It's interpretation. It's a problem in law enforcement. And law enforcement officers that say, no, it's not, that guy's lying. That law enforcement officer is lying through their freaking teeth. Yeah, tell them. This guy right up here in the neon says so. They're lying. Yep, the identity fusion. Identity fusion of super cop versus I'm off duty. Yeah, well, you're off duty, but you're still sworn law enforcement. I'm off duty. You carry a gun and a badge? Yeah, I don't carry a gun and a badge to do the job. I carry a gun and a badge because society's crazy. We're full of lunatics. Yes, that's why cops are here. That's why we have laws. Yeah. You think the bad guy cares about gun control? You think the bad girl, bad guy care about equal rights and liberty and DEI? No, they do not care anything about that. We have more gun control, more gun laws. Great. Now you're more gun controlling, gun lawing, allowing the people that are bad, that can get the guns or already have the guns, to just clap, enjoy. Free expression of, yes, we love you, lawmakers. Now you're making our job to be criminals easier. Yeah, it's a job to them. Yes, it's a job. Self-fulfillment, self-sustainment, financially, gain. Yes, the identity fusion. The restriction of law enforcement. Now you're fusing law enforcement with the bad people. Yep, restricting them. And that's all policy and procedure. Stand there and take it. Yep. Don't excel. Hide your emotion. Don't let it hurt you. Don't let it harm you. Don't let it get in your head to where you go from officer present, soft, empty hand to deadly force. Yeah. Yep. That quick, too. Yep. The fusion identity. I know some are having a hard time understanding this, but the law enforcement sector out there listening to this understands it crystal clear. And there are those that understand it crystal clear that'll say, nope, that's not true. You're lying. It is true. We'll cover one more thing. Then we'll call it a spring break is overnight. The culture of invulnerability. Yes. Historical roots. Yep. Yes, the historical roots. 20th century. Professionalism. Military. The structure. The suitability and unsuitability for the job. Yes, the incompetence. The weakness. Not physically fit. Not mentally strong enough to do the job. The sanctions. The you'll break character. You're too weak. You don't need to be out there being law enforcement. Anybody ever heard that before? The peers, the supervisors, your family. You won't make it. You won't make it through selection. It's too hard, too physically demanding, too mentally demanding. Yeah. That's the culture of invulnerability. You got to have the display of Superman. Yes, you do. Now, there is a time to, when the bulldog wants to fight, you fight. When the rabbit wants to run, you chase it. There is that time. Outside of that, you're a normal human being performing a job that unfortunately can become volatile extremely quick. Society would be the equality or equal to. Yes, I said equality or equal to because they will perform this action with equality, the same as the bad person with the gun who does not care about civil liberty, the law, DEI, Bill of Rights, Constitution. No, they're out for gain. So is society. Society wants that professionalism. They want that invulnerable law enforcement to show up and save the day, save the cats from the hole. Oh, that's what, fire department. That's right. Yep, got to give those guys kudos too. Fire's dangerous. Tetrahedron, boom. The old triangle. The culture of invulnerability. Officers who show vulnerability. I hate to break I don't hate to break it. I'm just going to say it. Immediate social consequences. Ridiculed. Exclusion. Yes, exclusion from their own fellow peers, the law enforcement. Why? Because they showed a small amount of vulnerability. But yet even those that exclude, especially the cops that exclude the cop that showed some form of vulnerability, those are the weakest ones. Why? Because you got to get together in your little goofy clique and talk and point a finger because you're weak. Yes, and it's typically those that become cops who have got no military experience, no deployment experience, and they're what would be called as, I'm not going to say it, a military person who was military that never deployed, or a law enforcement officer that's really never been involved in anything that put them at risk. But as soon as somebody else in law enforcement shows an emotion because they were put at risk, now you're unfit for the job. Well, okay, fat cop, put yourself in the same position. Everybody likes that supervisory position. Everybody wants that advancement, those coconuts, chickens, and stars, the exclusion from the non-internal network of law enforcement that you don't want to be in. You want to be up there with the hierarchy. Now you're looking for the professionalism, but you're practicing professionalism isolation at the same time. Career damaging. You damaging yourself after your career because people figure out who you are, law enforcement officers that identify law enforcement officers that have a vulnerability. Why don't you recognize the vulnerability and help overcome that with that officer that has one instead of talking the crap and pointing a finger? That's one of law enforcement's biggest problems. I was in an interview once at Germantown PD right outside of Memphis. They asked me, what is the biggest problem for law enforcement? I told them, the biggest problem for law enforcement is law enforcement. They didn't like that. I think the guy in the tight shirt, and the SWAT boy with the I buy my shirts from Baby Gap, he didn't like that either. It is what it is. Wonder if somebody's going to turn them on to that. Hey, man, somebody mentioned Germantown PD in an interview. You remember this guy? Somebody's going to say, yeah, I remember that day. Yep. The culture persists with remarkable resilience. Yep, law enforcement. Resilience, restructure, growth, and the burden of self-repair. Officer wellness, but just is what it is. Authenticity. Law enforcement is not a magic medallion or a magic tool. It's not a magic piece of steel. It's a human being. It is what it is. Society expects greatness. Society expects professionalism. Society expects that official rhetorical idea about the community from policing. It's what they want. No one calls law enforcement for the pretty. No one calls law enforcement for the butterflies and the pink unicorns pooping ice cream. No. It's for the violence, the destruction, the vulnerability of society. So, you want law enforcement to deal with your vulnerability, but if law enforcement displays a vulnerability, now come the pointers, the fingers, the words, the shame. Yeah, the protesters, shame. That's it. Whoever said make that up and start saying that crap was a moron. You're just showing your own failure at a protest. Shame. We're out here protesting and law enforcement has to be here because of us, and we're saying shame to them. Stupid. Dumb. All right. So if you want to download the actual research, hit it. Facebook, Dr. Mike Gurley, CJTV on Facebook, and it's all done through MediaFire. We could go for about another 3 or 4 hours, but go read the research. It's pretty good. We just wanted to, I just wanted to come in and capitalize on this and put the attention feeler out for this because spring break is over and the researchers are probably going to be in full tilt. Researchers, coming up here soon. New ideas, new research to close that thin blue wall of academics and developing scholars in CJ and sociology and psychology. So if you got anything you want the researchers to research, send it to me, drmikeleeg@gmail.com. As I said, we're live on YouTube, Rumble, and X tonight. We're not doing Twitch or Kick. Not now, not tonight. Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. But it's kind of twitchy or kicky, so to say. Don't want to piss off the gamers. Don't want to do that. Don't want to do that. Don't want to waste that bandwidth for those guys and girls out there killing each other in Call of Duty. Yeah. Creating that mayhem. And we argue when law enforcement shows up. Yeah. Society popularizes trauma and death. So society wants to traumatize to police your trauma, and you're aiding in your own trauma. It makes perfect rational sense, doesn't it? Yeah. It's kind of like sticking your hand into the gasoline pit and swirling it next to a fire. Makes perfect sense. Let's see what'll happen. Hope you enjoyed the show. I know, kind of short one, but is what it is. We cover a few things academically. Go download the research. It's out there. Have a good night.